Hello students, my name is Kiran Choudhary and I am your biology faculty at Infinity Learn by Sri Chaitanya. In today's session, we will discuss about one very important topic from the chapter Cell, the Unit of Life in your 11th class biology NCERT textbook. So, see here, as you can see on the board, there is a beautiful image of cell membrane, also known as plasma membrane. So, the objective of today's session is to understand how exactly the cell membrane looks, right? So, here we are going to discuss about the structure of cell membrane. Let's start. Okay, see here students on the board, as you can see, what I am trying to show here is a section of cell membrane, right? What is this? This is a section of plasma membrane, also known as cell membrane, and what you are seeing right now on the board is according to the most widely accepted model for explaining the structure of plasma membrane, that is fluid mosaic model. So, according to fluid mosaic model, plasma membrane looks like this, right? And who proposed this most widely accepted model for plasma membrane? Who did that? It was done by Singer and Nicholson, right? So, now let us see that what are the components of this cell membrane. So, see here students, observe carefully. In this structure, if I talk about the major components of cell membrane, see, the major components are lipids and proteins. So, where are the lipids and protein in this diagram? Can you identify? Yes, very simple. What is this? This blue structures, these blue globular structures that you can see are actually part of lipids, and these brown structures that you can see are actually proteins. So, see here students, what is this? These are lipid molecules. Give me a moment, let me take a pen. Okay, yeah. So, what is this? This is lipid molecules. And what are these? These brown portion, if I talk about, are proteins. So, majorly the plasma membrane is made up of lipids and proteins, right? Now, see here students, if I talk about lipids, the most or major, if I say which kind or which type of lipids are present in plasma membrane, so majorly they are which type? Phospholipid type, and these lipid molecules are actually arranged in a bilayer form inside cell membrane, also known as plasma membrane. So, see here students, as you can see, what is this? Up to this single layer of lipid, and from this to this is another layer of lipids, right? So, lipid is present in form of bilayer inside plasma membrane. Simple. So, what is this? This whole section, if I say, is what? It is lipid bilayer. So, this is about lipid. Now, let us discuss in brief about proteins. So, see here students, if I talk about all the proteins that are present inside plasma membrane, I can broadly categorize it into two parts, right? Depending on what is the base, depending upon the ease of extraction. That means how easily you can extract proteins from the plasma membrane, right? So, there are two types of proteins. One is the peripheral proteins and the another type is the integral protein. So, let us see what or how these proteins look like in this diagram, right? So, see here students, if I say about this protein, what is this? This is a peripheral protein. And what is this? This is actually integral protein. So, how do we define peripheral proteins? Peripheral proteins are those proteins which are present on the surface of the plasma membrane or cell membrane. As you can see, this one is just lying on the surface of the plasma membrane. Now, what is the integral protein? Integral protein, in comparison to the peripheral protein, if we talk about, integral protein are either partially or completely buried inside plasma membrane. Now, see here, this protein, this is running through the entire length of the plasma membrane. So, what is this? This is a type of integral protein which is actually entirely buried inside the membrane, right? So, depending on the ease of extraction, how easily you can extract them. So, when we talk about peripheral protein, you can easily extract them from plasma membrane, but when we talk about integral protein, it is not so easy to extract them. Why it is not so easy? Because they are either partially or completely buried inside plasma membrane, right? I hope this much is clear. So, this is what I discussed about the major components of the plasma membrane. Now, let us talk about some other components as well that are also present in the structure of cell membrane. And what are they? They are cholesterol and carbohydrate sugar. See, where are they? Okay. So, this red portion, right, this red structure that you can see in the diagram is what? This is cholesterol. This is cholesterol. And what is this? This is both these green portions, what do we call them? We call them sugars. We call them sugars, so carbohydrates, right? So, other than lipids and proteins, what do you see inside a plasma membrane? Cholesterol and sugar molecules. Now, for all those who are thinking that what is the function of cholesterol inside plasma membrane or cell membrane, so let me enlighten you students. These cholesterol actually works as fluidity buffer. What is their function? They serve as fluidity buffer. Fluidity buffer. And what is a fluidity buffer? Actually, students, these cholesterol molecules helps to maintain the fluid nature of the plasma membrane, which is very important in order to perform the various function for which the plasma membrane is responsible, right? So, when there is a sudden increase or sudden decrease in the temperature, in the surrounding temperature, the fluidity of plasma membrane can get affected. So, if temperature will decrease, what will happen? If temperature will decrease, the membrane can become solid. In that way, it won't be able to function properly, right? Now listen, if suddenly you increase the surrounding temperature of the plasma membrane, what will happen? Now, here the structure of the plasma membrane can become unstable, right? Its components can move away or far away from each other. In this way, the structure will become unstable, and if the structure become unstable, again the activity or the function of the membrane will be affected, right? So, both the situation are not favorable. So, when there is adverse condition, that means changes in the temperature, surrounding temperature takes place, cholesterol molecules actually helps to maintain that fluidity, that adequate amount of fluidity that is required by plasma membrane. So, that is the function of cholesterol, that is, it works as a fluidity buffer. It resists the changes in the fluidity of the plasma membrane according to the or that are induced due to changes in the surrounding temperature. I hope I made my point very clear over here. Now, see, as you can see here is what? Sugar molecules. So, see students, sugar molecule in plasma membrane can either be associated with protein as well as with the lipid molecule. So, observe very nicely on the board, right? Observe very nicely on the board, and what you will see is, see here, what is this? Here sugar molecule is actually in association with what? It is in association with protein, and such a compound which is formed by the association of protein and sugar is known as what? What? Glycoprotein. Glyco word is used for sugar, right? Carbohydrate. So this whole association is known as glycoprotein. And see, similarly here also you can see the sugar or carbohydrate molecule, right? But this time it is not associated with protein, rather it is associated with what? It is associated with lipid. So see here, this association of sugar and lipid is termed as glycolipid. So this association is known as glycolipid, right? So here I explained to you the overall structure of the cell membrane, where I discussed about the various components of the cell membrane. On what are they? The major ones are lipids and proteins, but also cholesterol and carbohydrates are present. This is according to the fluid mosaic model given by Singer and Nicholson, right? Now, yes, so now let us discuss about that lipid bilayer membrane in little detail now. See students, this lipids, as I have already explained you, that inside plasma membrane or cell membrane, lipids are actually present in a bilayer form, right? But in bilayer form also they have some specific arrangement. They are not randomly arranged, right? Very important. Please focus on this word, that these molecules, these lipid molecules inside bilayer are not randomly arranged, rather there is a systematic arrangement. So let us see, right? Let us see what is that arrangement and why it is so. See here, so what I have taken here, I have taken a small section of the lipid bilayer from the cell membrane, right? So as you can see, now what I have done, I have taken out one single lipid molecule, and as I have already told you that the majority of the lipids found in cell membrane or plasma membrane is for phospholipid type, right? So what is this? You can consider this as a single molecule of phospholipid, a single molecule that I have extracted from the lipid bilayer. This is what? Phospholipid. Now let us discuss about the structure. What about the structure of the phospholipid molecule? Now as you can see students, what you can see here? See, this is what? This is the head portion. This lipid molecule or this phospholipid molecule has broadly speaking, it has two components. One is the head portion and another one is the tail portion. So what is this? This is the head portion of phospholipid molecule, and this is the tail portion. This is the tail portion. This is known as head, this is known as tail. Now let us talk about the chemical nature. Yes, the chemical nature of the lipid molecule or chemical nature of the head and tail specifically. So talking about head is actually students what? Head is actually polar in nature, right? It is polar in nature. So when I say, means whatever the hydrocarbons that are present or whatever the structure is present in the head, right, is actually polar in nature. When I say polar, that means it has positive and negative charges are present at the poles. It possesses certain polarity, right? So since it possesses polarity, so it shows similarity with what kind of chemical structure? Can you guess? Can you guess? Yes, very simple, with water. So in comparison to water, so there's a reference. What generally people do, what they have done even in your NCERT with respect to water they have explained, and how they have explained the nature of the head. With respect to water, it is said that the head portion is hydrophilic in nature. So when you say that a head portion is hydrophilic in nature, that means it is water loving or it is water-like, right? And what is water? Water is a polar molecule. So when you are saying, listen very carefully, very interesting, right? So when you say that the head portion is hydrophilic, that means water loving or water like, that means we are talking about the chemical nature, and here the chemical nature is what? The chemical nature is polar. So hence, because head is polar in nature, hence head is hydrophilic. Hydrophilic. And what is hydrophilic? As I have explained, it is water loving or water like. And what is water? Water is also polar molecule. As you can see, water also has negative polarity and positive polarity. So when I say head is hydrophilic in nature, that means it is water like, that means it is polar, right? I hope this much is clear. Now let us talk about the tail, right? Tail is just, the chemical nature of tail is actually just opposite to that. So what is tail? Tail, chemical nature of tail, if I say, it is non-polar. It is non-polar. And when I say it is non-polar, that means it is not water-like, right? It is not water-like. So it repels water. The nature is opposite to the nature of the water, right? So how it is termed as? It is termed as hydrophobic. Hydrophobic. And what is hydrophobic? Means water repelling. Water repelling. So let me sum up for you students. This is a single phospholipid molecule, right? It has head and tail portion. Head portion is polar and hence known as hydrophilic. Tail portion is non-polar and hence known as hydrophobic, right? Now see here students. Now the arrangement, now let us get back to the arrangement and let us see and let us try to understand why the lipid membrane or why the lipid bilayer is arranged in the lipid bilayer, why lipid molecules are arranged in certain pattern. See here students. So as you can see here, the arrangement is such that in both the layers, this is layer number 1, right? This is layer number 2, right? In both the layers, the tail portions are touching each other and head portions are towards the periphery, towards the outside. So arrangement is such that the tail portion is inside and head portion is outside, or you can say tail portion is somehow protected from the aqueous environment. Yes, because both side of this lipid membrane, here also there is aqueous environment, here also there is aqueous environment, and here also there is aqueous environment. So how? Because as you know, the head portion loves the water or can form bond with the water, but tail portion does not like water, right? So the arrangement is done in such a way that the tail portion is protected from the aqueous environment. And why it is done so? So that the stability of the plasma membrane can be maintained. I really hope you understood now that why in a lipid bilayer the phospholipid molecules are arranged in this certain specific manner. I hope this much is clear. Let me know if there is any doubt till now. Thank you. Now see here students. Next is what? Yes, here it goes. So what I want to explain here is I want to talk little about what? About the membrane protein. So remember when I was talking, right? When I was talking about the membrane protein, on the very first slide, I explained you about the categorization, right? The categorization of what? The categorization of the types of proteins that are present in plasma membrane or cell membrane. There we talked about the integral proteins. So I want to discuss a little in detail about those integral proteins. So see here students, these integral proteins actually helps in transport. Right, with these two diagrams, what I am trying to show, both are these what? These are integral proteins. this one is the tunnel and this one is the or transmembrane, or this one is what? This one is the carrier proteins, right? They both are buried inside the plasma membrane and hence they can be termed as integral protein. And what is the function of these types of proteins or these types of proteins that are present inside the cell membrane? They actually facilitate the movement of those molecules who find it difficult to pass the plasma membrane. And what kind of molecules find it difficult to cross the plasma membrane? Let me tell you, students, since you know that the major portion inside the cell membrane is formed by the lipid bilayer, right? And in the lipid bilayer also the core portion is made up of tail, and the tail is hydrophobic in nature. Hence, it will not allow polar molecules or charged molecules to pass through it. Therefore, all the polar molecules, all the charged molecules as well as large size molecules cannot easily pass through the or cross the plasma membrane, and hence their movement or transport need to be facilitated. And exactly here these types of integral proteins play important role. So the objective of this slide was to explain you the importance of membrane protein that are present inside plasma membrane, right? So this is all about what I wanted to explain you in today's session. Let me give a quick recap. What did I explain in today's session? I actually explained about the structure of cell membrane, and we discussed the structure of cell membrane according to the most widely accepted model, that is the fluid mosaic model, right? I hope you understood each and every point clearly, but if there is any doubt, please leave it in the comment section. I will surely cover it in the coming videos. If you like the video, please give me a thumbs up and do subscribe to Infinity Learn by Sri Chaitanya and continue your learning. Thank you, students. That's all for today's session.